So a good check on your runs when you do the homework is to be sure that you have something that looks like this for BRU and BRD. Okay, anyway, here's how I got so once I put in the bridge station between the two bounding cross sections, then I put in the deck roadway. And now things aren't always so simple as this. That is, this case is a horizontal deck. But sometimes the deck actually goes up and then back down. Does anybody know? That's called a perched bridge. Why would you do that?
Where ships going underneath.
That's one reason. What's another reason?
Is it stronger that way with the weight sitting on a curve like
It's
that?
a notch.
Yeah, that's true. But what if you get overtopping? Where would it, if it goes like this, where would it overtop first? At the ends of the bridge. So the bridge would be saved. You might lose some embankment. It's a lot easier to replace embankment than it is to replace the bridge. But okay, so for this example, now here's the tricky part that you'll have to get used to. So I can put this over here, and this over here. Okay. First of all, this is divided into two parts. There's upstream and downstream. So let's just do the upstream. So then I've got a series of stations as I go across the cross section, and I'm putting in the high chord and the low chord. Now the high chord, okay, the high chord elevations are all 35, right? Because that's the top of the deck, and you can see it right there, the red line going across. Incidentally, notice that you can see these ineffective flow areas. See the triangles there, and then downstream there, and there. So they show up. They should show up. But anyway, so what the tricky part is right here. I put in a station of 0. That's at the left-hand boundary. I put the high chord as 35, but I put the low chord as 0. What sense does that make? Well, HECRAS automatically assumes if you put in an elevation that's below the ground elevation, then the ground elevation is the one that it will use. So you don't have to actually enter the ground elevation there. You just put in something that's below the lowest ground elevation and you're set. And so notice that I do that for these first few points until I get to the abutment. So station 230 is high chord 35 and 0. So first I tell it that it's blocked, that the embankment goes from 35 all the way to the ground elevation there. But then I switch to the bridge deck. So the next one is the same station, 230, same high chord, but now I put in the actual low chord of the bridge. So I switch from the ground to the bridge deck. And then I continue across the bridge to the bridge opening over here, which is station 430. And it's still low chord 32. Then I have the same station, 430, 430, 35, and 0. I go back to the ground, and then all of this is blocked out. All of this is embankment then, from then on. All the way to the end, 35 and 0. So you have to do that dual entry at the abutments. First the ground, and then the low steel, the low chord. And then for this simple example, what you can do is just see that button right there. You can copy the upstream to the downstream because they're usually the same. Losing my voice.
Can you post this example?
It's in the textbook.
Oh, okay. This HECRAS file is?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do this. I mean, I told HECRAS to do this. Oh, some other information because it's a type 1 bridge, notice that the side slopes are 0. But if you had a type 2, 3, or 4 bridge, you'd have to put in 2 to 1, or 3 to 1, or 4 to 1.
Can you move it this side?
What are you not seeing?
You cannot see that.
Okay, so that's, I can see it on my screen, I see, you can't, okay. How's that? Okay. So through that whole explanation, you couldn't see this? Okay. There's the 230 and the 230. 35, 0, 35, 32. There's the 430 and the 430, 35 and 32. 35 and 0, copy upstream and downstream. Side slope 0, the weir data 0.95. That is the estimate of when you, that's the upstream head to the upstream depth to the, let me think a minute, to the top of the deck. So as soon as it hits 0.95, then it switches into weir flow. And here I'm using a broad crested weir. You'd only use an OG if you had a spillway, an OG spillway like you did in the lab. A highway, road deck, and bridge deck is treated as a broad crested weir. Okay, I'm not going to change that. Okay, so that's the deck roadway. Next is the pier data. So I'll be more careful this time. Yeah, you can see it, okay.